You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158.
Welcome back to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Today's episode is a powerful tribute to service, resilience, and the cost of freedom. As we honor Memorial Day, we're sitting down with Mick, a 75-year-old Vietnam veteran whose journey spans 2 tours in Vietnam, over 18 years in military service, and a post-military career fighting wildfires and helping others heal. From surviving Agent Orange exposure to flying into raging wildfires, Mick's story is one of unwavering dedication, not just to his country, but to the generations that came after. This conversation is a reminder of what sacrifice really looks like on the battlefield, at home, and in the years that follow. Let's dive into Mick's incredible story.
Welcome back, everybody, to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Today we have a very special guest. He is a very close friend of the family. He is a good friend of my beautiful fiance's dad, a very close friend, and he is a honorable military veteran. He served his country well and honorably, and I would just like to introduce Mick to our show. Please show your appreciation and love for Mick. How you doing, Mick?
I'm doing good. I am more than happy to be on your podcast.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you being on here. It is an honor for us to have you on here. We thank you for your service as well.
The thing about people that don't quite understand is that military people, they're a very tight group. They don't normally share things with other people, but they will share the issues that they go through from going from military to civilian life. So in the 16 years that I was active military, I learned to try to be as helpful as I could to civilians in regards to what, as a military person, could be to the civilian, to try to get them to understand our situations.
Okay.
When I was active duty, there was multiple jobs that I did over the years. My first inclination when I went into the military was, I don't want to be no hero. I just want to serve. I definitely wanted to be able to be as safe as possible.
Exactly.
And the saying is, just run as fast as you can.
It's like Forrest Gump. Run,
Oh,
Forrest.
yeah. I don't care what anybody says. If you got to run, you got to run.
Right.
And you take and drag whatever you can back to safety. So I did 2 tours in Vietnam. And my first tour, I got there in November of 1969. And I was assigned to the 1st Cav Division, the 215th Combat Support Unit. And I was at a place called Phu Bai. and a small helicopter base and weapons depot for the Ashaw Valley operation. And my job, along with the other 20 guys that I went there with, was to work with the 25th Armored Division to do S&D, to sweep around the base every other day, 3 times a week, go out about 3 miles and sweep, search and destroy Charlie wherever he was, then come back in and do it again. And it sounds like, well, that might be an easy job. No, it's not. It's not. It's not redundant in any way. It is a new adventure in every manner you could think of. When a lot of people see the movie Forrest Gump, did it rain like that? Yep, it rained like that.
Yeah.
It rains sideways, up, down. It just was ungodly. But now the people there are entirely different. We, as soldiers, we did what we were told. But
Right.
we were not Lieutenant Calley and his crew. That whole thing with My Lai, that people go, well, did that really happen? Yeah, it happened. But when I got there in '69, our jobs were specific. My job was taking care of all the fuel that came on that fire base and going out and doing the search and destroy. And everybody says, well, what about the cooks? The cooks guy came right along with us. Cooks came out. They did their job in the jungle, and they just, it's sometimes it's kind of hard to explain, but it doesn't make any difference whether you were fuel specialist or you loaded aircraft or you drove a tank. Your job there was to find the enemy and kill it. That was it. So people look at you and they go, that's it? No. You got to remember that you got to take your buddies with you. You got to bring your buddies back.
Mm-hmm.
You never left anybody. And so that first year that I was there, after about 7 months at Fubai, I got sent to a place called Imperial City Way. And that's where my division was based at, which was another 80 clicks away. And some of the heaviest fighting in the early 60s, in the 63, 64, 65, was at the Imperial City of Way. It's amazing what, as soldiers, we forget in our life every day is that we actually are going to go home.
Right.
Sometimes you say, well, we'll go home in a box. And a lot of soldiers and a lot of brothers out there like me, we made it through that. We made it through that. And then when they extended me, I was pissed.
I can imagine.
I said, what is this? And the first sergeant said, well, you got extended. Well, they just don't like me, or what the hell? What is this? And it put me first, like, I want to find the bastard that did this to me. I want to shoot his ass, you know? Because it's just like, are you kidding me? I want to go home, you know? So they said, well, you get to go to, you get to go on R&R. So, okay, what's R&R? Well, you get out of the country. So that first year, I went to Australia for 10 days. That was great.
You liked Australia?
Oh yeah, I didn't want to go back.
He's like, I don't want to come back here.
And I look at that and I'm thinking, I at my age when I was 19, I turned 20 over there. Okay, so I went to R&R. I'm to Australia, and then that second tour started. Well, I think that during that period of time, that's when I started getting more and more of the Agent Orange, because they would come in and they would do low-level flights, and they would take the choppers, the 41s, and they have these wings that pop out, and they would spray the foliage, and 2 hours later and stuff looked like loose liver limp. Oh my God, it was nasty. And then by the time you get back, and you get back in the base, and you gotta go through the green line. The green line is all the Constantine wire and all the barrier between you and Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a base that's probably got 400 guys on it. Yet maybe 3 main guns, got a tower, 2 towers, automatic weapons, and then the mortar tubes, and you've got all these people, plus you have a flight line, and they would bring fuel in, and when they would bring fuel in, and that was where my specialty was they would have these fuel cylinders that looked like a big fat rubber tire.
Okay.
And they would come in on a C-130, and he'd come in, and he would low tagging. He'd drop his tail in, and he'd just float across the flight line, and he'd drop 3 of these. They're 500 gallons apiece. And they'd bounce for a while, and then they'd stop, and we'd corral them, and it had a little nozzle at the end of it that you could hook up your hose, and you could fill everything, diesel or gas or whatever you need. So basically that was what my job was. And if I wasn't doing that, I was either down in one of the mortar tubes, or I was walking green line with a bunch of other guys, or we were doing sweeps and looking for Charlie and trying to get as many as we could. And of course, they always say, oh, high number of counts really make a difference. For who? It's just people that are number crunchers are the ones that you want to drag out under the green line and leave there.
Right. Because they obviously have no idea.
Yeah. So that was in my first couple of years there. My first year was a learning process for myself. 1, to stay alive, and 2, to make sure that I don't make the mistake, especially when we got new guys that come in. Mm-hmm. You take them and you babysit them, because you want them to replace you. You want to get that out of there. when shit would happen and they start throwing mortars at us and automatic weapons. And I remember one time, I think I just come back from my R&R, and I'm sitting on this hooch. Of course, our hooches are galvanized piping for drain piping that are 4 foot across, and you got probably 3 feet of sandbags across the top of them. Underneath there's your bunk and all that stuff. And we got hit one, right? And it was pretty nasty. And I reached over, I grabbed this new guy, I threw him on top of me. And he, what the hell are you doing? I said, I don't know how much longer I got left here, and you're my replacement. He stayed away from me after that. I thought he was my friend. Sometimes we try to make light of these things because in my lifetime that I was there, that's what it was. It was a lifetime. And I have never been so violent in my life as I was there. There were times they tried to overrun us, and it was hand-to-hand combat. And I, to this day, some of it I don't even talk to anybody about, because you cannot believe how violent you can be. It is, and all brothers will tell you the same thing. It is something that when you reach down inside yourself, you don't know that you really had it.
Right.
It makes you feel less than human, but at the same time, when it's all said and done, you look at each other and you say, I can't believe I did what we did.
Right.
It is sometimes beyond human endeavor in life to do such things. It's just, it's tough. It really is. For 30 some years, I would go to counseling just to get that rattle out of my head, because that's what I called it, rattle.
That's like the shell shock or the aftershock of everything?
Well, PTSD is when you may not think that you have anything going on, and then someone will say, you're okay. Why? Well, you didn't make any sense what you just said. What was that? And so there was a couple times I just said, okay. And I would go check in and go to the infirmary, and I said, I need a rest. What? I need a rest. You need this. Give me something, some happy pills. No, we don't want to give you drugs. So start doing counseling after I came back from Vietnam. Now, in late 71, in December of 71, when I came back to Vietnam, because I'd been there about in 22 months. And when I got home, it's like all of these people, like picnics and calling you these names. Like, are you kidding me? it's like, well, you're you're nasty, you bad person, you don't belong here. Out of my friends, out of my buddies have said the same thing. So a lot of this, these choices that you make when you first in country,
Mm-hmm.
is choices that you made because you had to. You didn't sit down and say, well, I can do this. No. No. You're assigned to this company. You got an MOS of this. It's in our TO&E. TO&E means what's authorized for that company. The specialties, the weapons and all that stuff. That's TO&E. Okay. So a lot of people go, well, if you were doing gas, how the hell did you end up? I was a soldier. Okay. So I've known cooks that have got Bronze Stars, Silver Stars, Purple Heart like I did. And they're very easygoing, but they won't talk to you about all this stuff. So it is important for people out there to understand that we didn't want to do this, but because our country asked us to, we did.
Right.
And a lot of the problems that came out of Vietnam was because they didn't know how to handle it. You made us. You screwed it all up. And we come back and now you ain't got nothing to, we can't find you. What are you going to do? You going to do a job? Well, they don't have right human jobs. They don't have jobs for people who make claymore mines or explosives. Well, of course not. So I'm sorry. That first deployment, that was the search and destroy mission teams. Were there was 20 of us. There's 2 10-man teams, and we would split up, and we would either have a lieutenant or a warrant officer that was assigned to us, and we'd do sweeps, and then we'd come back and do our other duties. And sometimes when we'd go out, we'd be gone for 4 or 5 days. You're doing a 5-mile sweep.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's hot, raining, and I don't eat rice.
Seen enough rice patties, huh?
Oh yeah, one too many. In the search and destroy missions, we would go and when a chopper went down, part of the 215 Combat Support Unit supported the 15th TNC, the Transportation Corps, helicopters. So they would fly us in, they'd drop us down, we'd support and get the chopper ready to be slung out and taken back to either Benoit, Cameron Bay, and either a sky crane would come in or another 41. And then they'd send another airship in to come and pick us up.
Okay.
But Charlie always liked to try and pick a few of us off,
Mm-hmm.
He was a sneaky little fellow.
Hiding out, no?
Oh yeah. So, um, so working all the fuel and making sure that everything run, then you always got a mechanic still besides me. You had to have one mechanic uh, that could fix anything. I had a guy named Frenchie. He was from Louisiana, 6'7". When we would go do sweeps, he would carry a small mortar plate, about that big around, it's about 18 inches, and a small tube, and 5 or 6 mortars. Plus, he'd carry a carb 15, which is a short version of the M16.
Okay.
And he man had the biggest hands I ever seen. He wore a size 20 ring.
Oh, geez.
20. I mean, I wear 13. I got big hands, but
He's got sausage fingers.
So then we started getting people that started getting sick from dioxin, Agent Orange, and people going, that stuff that they've been spraying down. Yeah. Oh well, you need to, when they're doing that, you need to put your raincoat on. What? Well, it seems to be making people kind of sick. So try and cover yourself. Oh, well, let's see. The foliage is all screwed up, and you're walking through it, and you got a rucksack with maybe 40 pounds of crap in it, and your water, and your weapon, and this stuff is just nasty. And then when you come off these sweeps, come back on the base, you want to take a shower.
Yeah.
And half the time we couldn't wash our clothes because the stuff was so slimy and greeny. You didn't burn the shit.
Right.
So you got a fatigue that is fatigued. It's just as tired of you. It don't want to run out there. So, okay. So, all right. So, Agent Orange is. It took me 37 years to get them to put all the stuff together and under the Standard Tester and the PAC Act, put together to get people taken care of for the so that you could get compensation. I'm one of the very few people that have my original file.
Oh my gosh. It's a pretty thick stack.
All my files, all my 201 file, all my anything and everything that has to do with Uncle Sam, I got it. Not too many people have that. And it's not a copy, it's the original file.
Okay.
It's just, you weren't supposed to have that, but I did. 37 years and it took me, it just, I had to get, let's see, I'm going to look, I was going to show you. I guess I don't. Anyway, I went through the whole thing of like starting all over again with all this paperwork. So the PAC Act said that they had to evaluate what, when, how, where. All I had to do was prove that I had it, that I used it. And I had pictures of me loading choppers with Agent Orange, with fuel. I had pictures of loading a Dot Star, which is a looks like a little Piper Cub, with Agent Orange. And because when I refueled them, I had to put the Agent Orange in the tanks so they could use the sprayers.
Okay.
And I was the only guy that knew how to do this. And, well, of course, I was trying to get the new guy trained in too. So, in doing so, over the years, I've had loss of hearing. That's why I wear the hearing aids. I've had cataracts. I've had jungle rot. And jungle rot is nasty. It is a very fatiguing infliction because it's mostly in the crotch and down in the inner legs where you walked in the jungle all the time, and the skin would just peel off. Your feet would get all look like bear claws, just a bit. So, so what question do you have more about Vietnam that you would like me to explain?
I just wanted to know what caused you to want to join the Army in the first place? Were you drafted, or did you just?
No, I wasn't drafted. Actually, okay. I went out to see my brother in California, my second oldest brother. I got a job as a young. I was 18. Went out there, and he lived in San Bernardino, and I got a job with Santa Fe running a pile driver. I was the youngest pile driver they had. I was working for them, and I had 6 months working with them, and I got my draft notice, and I said, screw this. I'll just go join. What the hell,
Right.
My oldest brother was military. He was a Green Beret, and he was already in country. My brother that I went out there to see was in the Navy at the time. And then I had a brother, James, who was Army. And then there's me. So I went Army, Right. I said, why didn't you go Navy? No, I like my feet on the ground. Well, that was a misnomer to me. I was being dumped out of aircraft up above the tree line, It's like, what's down there? You, go on. We would go in, they would take us in on shit hooks. That's a C-120, and it's a double-bladed chopper. They're long. Okay. They would open the back door, throw ropes down, and you shimmy down into the canopy And when you get down there, it's just black as mambo. It's just, it is terrible. It's just, you can't see crap. And if we were going into a hot LZ, the 41s, the airships would take us in, and they'd hover 4 or 5 feet off the ground, and you'd have to jump your ass up.
Okay.
And all the time I was there, I had people ask me, all the time you were there, how many days do you think you were in combat? 6 out of 7. 6 out of 7 days a week. Because if you weren't in combat on the base, you were in combat in the jungle, looking for Charlie, trying to get him before he got you.
Right.
So we did sweeps. That's why I said the sweeps are so important. I remember I told you that I've been in Vietnam since 1953. Because in Cam Ranh Bay, we have ammunition depots for the Korean conflict.
Right.
A lot of those bases that were built by a company called P&E, which P&E is owned by Morrison Knudsen. And a lot of people would go, well, yeah, that's bullshit. No, it's not. The reason I know this is because when I was doing my graduate, I had to look for some records. So when I went to Washington, D.C. to see the Vietnam Veterans Memorial with my friends, I went over and I looked up some stuff in the congressional records, and I found these records of P&E Corporation, Knudsen, and the contracts they had to build bases and supply depots for the Korean conflict. And so, there's, well, that don't mean nothing. Yeah, it means a lot. Somebody's making money off the backs of
Absolutely.
soldiers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my biggest reason I became a soldier was that I didn't want anybody ever saying to me, "You're a crap ton.
Mm-hmm.
You're a sissy. You're cheap, drunk, looking for somebody pull you out of the mud." Nobody's ever done anything for me. Nobody's ever done anything to me. I wouldn't let them do it.
Right.
That's why I joined the Army. I said, well, I'm going to fight. It's my choice. I don't want somebody to tell me, this is what you're going to do. Well, I knew that the minute I got in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, so that's why I went in the military. And of course, I had brothers in the military. So, they were kind of proud of their little brother,
Right.
And I got hurt over there, and I got jungle rot, and I got all kinds of crap. I didn't engage in certain things when it came to. I didn't want no diseases. I don't bring anything back. But I knew a lot of guys that did.
Right.
And their lives sucked after that. So I remember we were sitting at we were in the train, and we were sitting on the back of this APC, and there was like 5 of us, and the one guy said, "Well, are you gonna up again?" I said,
Hell no.
"Oh, what's the matter with you? I mean, you drinking or smoking something that you shouldn't be doing? What's the matter with you? Are you gonna up? Oh yeah, I'm gonna up for this. I'm gonna up so that they don't have to send me back. Because if I go back, somebody's gonna say to me, you may lie." Some of the crap that we come back to was not good.
Right.
My son, I'm very proud of him, and he was 2 years old when I went to Vietnam, and when I got back, I was really glad to see him. He just he turned out to be a good man.
That's awesome.
It makes a big difference. So, okay, so you want me to move on to a little bit more now?
Yeah, let's move on and talk about how you transitioned from the Army into the Air Guard and worked
Okay.
on the F-16s.
Yeah, okay, so when I was before I moved into the Air Guard, I was part of the 106th Third Armored Cav here in Montana, and I was a tanker. Tanker means I was a tank crewman. I loader, gunner, driver. I wasn't a tank commander. Tank commanders are E7s, and I wasn't an E7. I was just an E6. So, the M60A1 is what we ran in the state of Montana. Of course, they have the new MX1 battle tank now, has for over 15 years now. So, but the M60A1 is what I trained on, and that tank is a 5 crew member, but the MX1 battle tank is 4. A driver, loader, gunner, and tank commander. As with the Moadus, the M60A1 was where you had the driver, the loader, the machine gunner, the gunner, and the tank commander. So they just eliminated one job.
Right.
But anyway, so when I thought, I've had enough of this military crap, I'm just gonna quit. So I just went to the commander at the 1st 106th Armored Cav here in Montana. I just said, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. Okay, you've earned your time. And about a week later, I got a call from the Montana Air Guard.
Okay.
217th Air Wing. And this major said, I understand that you have a little flight time. I said, yes, I do. I said, while I was active duty back in the late 70s, I went to Florida, and I went to flight school down there. I was in the transition into a warrant officer. I went through the flight training school, And then they couldn't find me a job. They couldn't find me a position. So they couldn't commission me because I'd have to go to officers training corps, and I didn't do that. And
Right.
a warrant officer is a non-commissioned officer, but he's a warrant officer. Usually
Right.
they're pilots or they're in charge of transportation or that sort of thing. Well, he said, well, they don't have a position for you. Okay. And so you're going to be returning to duty at Fort Stewart. Okay. So I went back and reported to my command sergeant major, and he goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" I said, "They didn't have a job for me." What? They didn't have a job for me. Okay, well, I got a job for you. So I was assigned as a staffing NCO for a 2-star general named John Rosenberg. He was short, 5'6", 5'7", 2-star general for 3rd Army Command. Now, 3rd Army is all the East Coast.
Mhm.
So if the command sergeant major is command sergeant major is 3rd Army. So it's like the 2-star and 3 up, 4 down, 3-star, and all that stuff for an E9, which is E10, which is a command sergeant major. So I thought, well, what the hell? So then when I got out, I decided I'm just going to get out. So I signed up for the guard duty for reserve and come back to Montana. When I got back to Montana, a friend of mine said, "Oh, why don't you take me with you?" What? Well, I'd like to go to Montana. Okay. So him and his wife and my wife and me moved from Georgia to Montana. Anyway, and many years we did a lot of, but when I transitioned over from the Army to the Air Guard, he didn't. A year later, he passed away from cancer.
Oh,
So,
unfortunate.
and when I transitioned to the Air Guard, I was a weapons specialist assistant for the F-16. So I was the shadow of another E6 when they did prep work for aircraft to go in the air.
Mhm.
We would go around, we would do all the checks on all the weapons, all the missiles, or we would load in them. Then everybody's got a job. The weapons specialist is the one that orders what gets loaded on the aircraft and how many gets loaded. And you oversee the loading mechanisms, making sure that everything is locked in place.
Okay.
All the safety devices are on it before it goes into pre-flight. And then you walk around and you check all the aircrafts up and down, all the safety stuff. And then when they get activated, when they say this flag 2 or flag 4 or flag 6 is going to be flying, you would go out and all those little red tags you always see on aircrafts, and they're pulling the little flight pins off them. That's the safety device. Yep. You pull all those, and you count them. If you're supposed to have 10, you better have 10 flags. So it was interesting, and they treated me really good.
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
I was really surprised. If I would have known they were going to be that way, I would have moved over there a lot sooner. I learned a lot from the Air Guard. The Air Force taught me one of the things that I didn't learn in the Army. A lot of patience. And I don't mean patience like, oh God, we're going to be here all day. No. Patience about doing your job. These guys take it very serious.
Right.
Even the guy that goes out and waxes and cleans the bell hood so that they can see clearly, the guy that cleans that, there's a guy that does that, just that job. And these guys are just so professional. You gotta stand up and say, damn, that's a good job you did. You know, these guys they take a lot of pride in their work. I commend all those guys I met at the 217th. They just made me feel good to be because I was a ground pounder, you know. Now I'm a worker, you know. So, it taught me a lot of things about how the other services work. Now, my dad was in the Navy, and I had a brother that was in the Navy. And my dad was, I think I told you about that. And I never really wanted to go in the Navy. I mean, I can swim. I'm a good swimmer. But I don't, no, I never wanted to be in it. It just wasn't not something I really wanted to do. So there you go. The F-16s was I got to go, of course, they always take a new guy and take him for a flight, And yeah, he did the flat off, straight up, It's just, yeah, his nose comes out your butt, and just you just say, "Oh, well, that was interesting." But they are, oh my God, they take great pride in what they do, and not to say that the Army doesn't either, but these guys they know that when they support troops on the ground, when they call in for air support, it's going to be there.
Right.
It was a lesson learned.
So, after your military career, you had went to college and earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. What inspired you to want to do that?
Well, before I went to college, I was working I had 2 years where I worked for the Bureau of Land Management. And I decided, because I worked with the YCC groups, and were firefighters, and I think I had mentioned that to you before, that the Bureau of Land Management, I went back to flying for a little bit. And before I was going to go to college, I thought I should probably one summer working with the crew, because I thought about going back to college. So I thought, okay, well, I can do that. So I worked with the fire crews. I would take team leaders in, especially in over where they might have, let's say they had a prairie fire. I would drop team leaders off, and they would bring 50-man crew in, and the National Guard would haul them all in there wherever they wanted to go, which was nice for the state of Montana, because these people were really good. And the YCC, the youth corps, boy, I tell you what, I don't know if you've ever seen a firefighting line where they have flappers and rakes and all that. These guys get right in there, and these team leaders, they are there for 2 reasons: get the job done and make sure nobody gets hurt.
Right.
And they are adamant about the way they do things. So, and they would call and say, "I need you to move this team over here." And so I'd go and pick up the team leaders, because I couldn't carry more than 4 guys in my aircraft. So I would take the 4 lead guys, and I would take them to a different position, and I'd drop them off, and I'd radio, and I'd go back and pick the other 4 up, and they would be already in their trucks and hauling these guys another 8 miles or 10 miles down the road. And so there's a hop and a skip, and you fighting these prairie fires, because they move so damn fast. So after that period of time, in '88, I worked with Dennis DeSalle, which was a friend of mine who owns aircraft out of Idaho, and he was fighting the fires in the park.
Mm-hmm.
And I was helping him as the crane operator for the Erickson 54 that he had. I would sit in the crane operation and run the bags, because it would pick up about 40,000 pounds of water.
Okay.
And that's 6 bags. And there were times that it would get so hot that you could take your finger and push against the plexiglass and it'd be gooey. It's like,
Oh, wow.
it's just like, oh, we need to get cooled down, you know. So, okay, so when I went back to college, I decided to do, at first, to work on communications and political science. So my liberal arts was in communication, and my science, my BSBA, was a Bachelor of Science in Political Science, and then my liberal arts was in communications. And I worked at the radio station there and did. I was a disc jockey for 2 years, and plus I was taking 16 credits a quarter, and it's just, oh, I had to have a job too because it's not support payments to make, you know.
Right.
So, so after that, then I decided, well, okay. But when I graduated, because I got my degree in under 4 years, and I decided, well, I want to do something about this Agent Orange thing. Well, then the federal money came through the U of M to it was in Billings at the university there, at Eastern Montana College, and one in Missoula for children of the Vietnam conflict. And what it was they were having problems with people having children, and they were having all these defects. Children with blind-sided eyes and discolored skin and problems with depleted blood cells, and it just went on and on and on. So I went and I found that I could voluntarily sit on the board for these children of Vietnam combat vets. So there's 3 other vets that, we both, 3 of us were working to maybe put together a program to help Vietnam vets get in to see these people, to get some financial aid to get these children tested. So I spent about 3 months on my motorcycle going around up in the mountains, finding vets that were out of sight, out of mind, talking with them, getting pot shotted at. When they found out what I was doing, it was different. I found out I was a combat vet, found out that I'm not there trying to blow smoke up their ass, that I really did want to help.
Right.
So I started doing a study, and 2 of my other associates, 2 other wanted to do more interviews. So what we did was I devised a system that you don't use this person's name, you use their military ID number and how many children they have, the ages, and problems that they have. And then you go in and you say, okay, you go in and you say, okay, this is what we would like to see from you guys from Dow Chemical Company. Well, Dow Chemical Company, that took them a long time, almost 3 years, to even sit down at the table and talk about this. In doing so, we, in the period of time that they did it, we interviewed about, I think if I got it right, I think about 8,200 combat vets in the state of Montana, and there's more than 35,000 here. So, in doing so, that came around about with the aftershock syndrome. That's when we sat down and we wrote our masters on the effects of Agent Orange through the genetic codes into children that became the aftershock of what happened and how long it took to get there. And that's where aftershock syndrome came from.
Wow. So they basically brought that back, and it affected their children through their DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the program came about so that they offered, there was different things that Dow Chemical Company offered. They offered the parent, you can either take, we'll give you $50,000 per child, and we'll pay for health for 5 years. Or we'll give you $100,000 per child, and you get that's it. Or you get a medical credit card for life for a child. So there was a lot of smart people. There was a lot of greedy people.
Yeah.
And
Imagine.
there was a lot of children that died because they didn't listen. They saw money.
So they traded the lives of their childs for the money that they would get out of it. That's sad.
Thinking that you could fix it, and it can't. You can't fix it. It's something that happens, and I guess you have to look at it like, what would I do? Well, I know what I would do. I mean, because I'm part of that system, I know what I would have done. I know what I did do. And I'm glad I did. I have 4 daughters.
Right.
And they all were affected by it. So, and they're all good and healthy now. It makes a big difference, you know.
So you took the medical card for
Yep.
life. Good
Yep.
for you.
Ain't got nothing to do with me. It's theirs.
Right. They didn't have a choice in the matter, you know.
No, they didn't. So,
Yeah.
So now you know that there are people out there that really wanted to help, but there was a lot of people that just it was money. It was just you come back from a war, you're screwed over, you don't trust anybody, and Uncle Sam said, "Oh yeah, I'm here for you." No, you're not. You took from me, and then when you asked to give back, you scream and holler like a little pig that's got. It's stupid.
Yeah, because it's all about money.
Yeah. So the thing is that I think that I was lucky. I got the opportunity to go and do so many things, and I tried to do the best that I could with what I had, and I tried to have friends, not somebody to count on. Just I tried to have good friends. Having a good friend makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Timmy and I have known each other for a long time. Timmy worked for me one time when I was manager, and he was a good employee. And then when he moved over to the other company that I was with, him and I, we're like salt pepper. We just went together, you know. So, I've lost a lot of friends over the years. Out of the 20, I think there's 3 of us left. And I am one of those people that if I say I'm going to be in contact with you, or I call you, or I will call you, I do. You know,
right.
Because there's lots of people say, "Oh, I'll call you." No, you won't. You won't have the time. You don't make the time. That's the nice thing about good friends. They call you out and say, "How you doing? What are you up to?"
Right.
Yeah. They call them up and say, "Hey, I sent you a nice bottle of whiskey. What'd you do with it? What's that?" That's like Timmy. He's come and seen me when they lived in Oregon. Yeah, my wife and I, we went over there and to see him. Tim's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think people like you that do these programs, you can do good at this. This is a good thing. You know, a lot of people say, "Well, you know, podcasts is good. Podcast gives you information.
Right.
It's not. There are some podcasts that are hokey.
Yeah, just kind of weird.
There's some podcasts like, "Are you kidding me? You really are going to do that? You're going to put that on the air? What's the matter with you?" Then you've got some good stuff here. I was going to tell you that I will find the firefighting things, and I will put together here in the next couple of weeks some stuff from that. I got
tons of photos and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know, all the training from. I go all the way back to 2000 when they used to have an aluminum plant here that is gone now. I used to, when I was the manager for this other propane company, I put together a fire training and it was for 6 different fire stations out of Kalispell, Columbia Falls, and Whitefish, and they loved it. So there's all these things that the firefighters here really, I don't know if they're doing any of the firefighter training anymore, but I've got a whole bunch of material. Some of it I'll send to you, maybe through an email, some photos,
Okay.
and that will help you with this, because I think that um, yes, this live fire training, the Christmas tree was actually set up and installed to make it look like a Christmas tree that's on fire, and and it's got a valve at the bottom of it. And the object of the training is to do this 5-step where 5-man crew. You got the guy at the end of the hose running. He's doing the mist, and they got to go in and cool it down, and they do a 5-man walk in, and they got to get down there and turn that off. And this is live fire. This is liquid propane that's being pumped in there, and then it's expanding to 800 times its own volume.
Okay.
So propane, when it's stored, is in liquid, and it's minus 41 below. So when you open the valve, it wants to escape, but what it's doing is boiling in there, making the gas. Okay, so a lot of these guys that are training on these Christmas trees and some of the vehicles and stuff that we've done has really given them a chance to firefight against an object that has no rhyme or reason the way it acts. The gasoline and liquid products, you can dump, you can put the foam on it and it'll kill it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way. Propane is a vapor that's burning, and it's expanding while it's burning. So these guys, if they're trying to get into a building that's got propane, they got to find a way to kill that propane, because the hotter it gets, the more volatile it gets. So you sometime you get the chance, go to Google and look up propane tank explosions, and you can see where firefighters were trying to douse to cool a big propane tank down, and then and when it explodes, it doesn't explode, it implodes. So when it implodes, it sucks that 2-inch metal right down to like a beer can, and all the liquid goes out. And where does it go? It's going out, and it's burning. So a lot of the firefighters, then they know, if they're listening to this, they know, yeah, they're going, yep, that's true. So these are different things that in the firefighters, if they have a little bit of this, little bit of live fire training, oh man, it helps them so much to be able to do their job. Especially if you've got families involved, if you've got something that's going that's just, it is just terrific that they get the training, but it's terrifying what can happen if they are not able to stop it.
Right.
So, looking back, what does this memorial mean to me personally? I pay homage to my family and my friends. My dad was a Navy guy. My brother, who passed away last year, was a Green Beret in the Army. My other brother passed away 10 years ago. So when I do a memorial service for me for my family, I try to remember all the friends and all the people that I've met over the years and what they have offered to me as a person. Some of my friends that were in the Army with me always said, I always remember you, Mick. You were a character, but I always know I could count on you.
Right.
So it's not whether you did the right thing or did the wrong thing. It's whether or not you learn that there's more in life than being nobody. Because somebody is always counting on you just to help them. And on Memorial Day, I'm a member of the American Legion, and we pay homage to our brothers we've lost and to those who are still alive. And if we can go out and help them, go over and maybe go over and see them, or maybe go over and give them a little pat on the back, or maybe take them a sandwich and say, hey, I heard you were tied up and they wouldn't let you feed, you know. But yeah, so, and one of the things you asked me here is that I've been married, yeah, and I have 5 children. Military life is so tough on families. It really is. It is so hard. It's just, one day you're there and the next day, oh, well, where's Mick at? Well, he's doing that Brave Shield thing again. He's in, I would go to Europe and I'd be there for 3 weeks, turn around, come back. Did that probably in 5 times in 3 years. It's nice that I got to do all that, but didn't get to take my family with me at the time. You know, but oh yeah, you know. I think that being able to take your family with you on certain occasions would be nice, but at the same time, you have to remember that you got a job. So, the one message that I would give to the younger generation from all the things that I have learned over is that, you know, we all look and read history, but one of the greatest things I ever had put in front of me was when John F. Kennedy said, Don't ask what you can do for your country. I mean, don't ask what your country can do for you. What you can do
Yes.
for your country.
Yep.
Don't say, oh, and don't say your country owes you something. The country doesn't owe you anything unless you're willing to step up and say, count me in. We are right now we're in lots of turmoil and issues and all kinds of things going on. It's like, well, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I hope to God that when we step forward, it's going to be something that's good. It's not unpleasant. No. And my brothers in arms, yes, they're still with me. Those who have gone to the other end, they've gone to the heavenly walkway waiting for all of us.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope that you have enjoyed my stories, and
Absolutely.
I think this is great. I really do. I'm really happy that you asked me to be on your show.
Well, we definitely appreciate having you on here. It's been an honor to hear your story from your perspective and the things that you've gone through. I know a lot of military members have a hard time speaking about these things because it's so horrific. But, we definitely honor and appreciate the courage and the fortitude that you had to step forward and say something.
Well, I will tell anybody out there, I know how hard it is, and I know that sometimes you just say, no, I can't do that. I decided to do that because I have learned over a period of time that if I don't speak up, then my silence just kills me. It just doesn't, you got to say something.
Right.
And if we try so hard to keep soldiers from taking their lives, I keep telling, hey, call me.
Right.
You want to talk, I'll talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk with you. I'll talk to you until you fall asleep at night. I will be there. Losing soldiers because they say, well, we don't have the funds. We don't have the funds because you say you don't have the funds. You do. Just make sure that it's used properly.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
any questions?
Yeah. I think we kind of went over pretty much everything that we were going to discuss. I mean, you covered it pretty well. And, it's just so touching to hear, that you came out on the other side of the end. And, even though you went through your battle hardships, you still came out a wonderful person. And I know you're a wonderful person because, Tim, he speaks very highly of you. You're his best friend, and he loves you very much.
Well, I love Tim. Tim's a good guy. He's just a
Yeah.
him and I have gone fishing and hunting together. he's he's got and he has such a sense of humor. He's so funny. You know, I think the world of Tim. Yeah, he's just, and I'm I'm impressed with you. You will
Thank
make good. You will make a good host for this. This is good. What prompted
yeah.
you to do this?
What happened was my cousin, he was a 20-year veteran and he did 3 tours overseas, and he was in the National Guard and he was serving the sheriff's department during that time. And he promised after he retired, after his 20 years, he would come back as a full-time deputy. And his first year back, he was killed in the line of duty. So we figured to honor him by doing this and helping out his brothers and the people that he cared about, not just his family, but his fellow soldiers and military members, as well as first responders, firefighters, EMS, sheriff's deputies, dispatchers, corrections, that sort of thing. Just kind of give them a voice and a platform to speak about, the traumas and the things to kind of let all that out, because we don't want them to harm themselves either.
Yeah.
So we give them a platform to talk and to come out and just to talk to us, and then just to kind of clear the air.
Yeah. Well, because of the fact that I'm 75 years old, and this is 50 years, and it took me 37 years to get the VA. And if it hadn't been for Senator Tester in the state of Montana to get the PACT Act passed, I still would have been at 10%.
Yeah.
And it
That's
took
not
me
right.
took me up to 60% because I fit all the criteria. I proved where I was, proved that I did all this stuff, proved that this crap was on me, proved that I had been hit, shot, blown up, all kinds of crap. And nobody's going to say, no, that's not true anymore. Now it is true.
Well, they know it's fact.
Yeah.
You got documentation, so.
There you go. Yeah.
But I think this will be a good, definitely a good Memorial Day edition. Just to show honor for our veterans and stuff, and to show them that we do love them and care about them, and we support them every step of the way. It doesn't matter what war you're in. We love and respect everything you guys do. So, and we definitely appreciate your service. I wasn't really alive during that time. I was born in 1977, so I was later on during that war, but I heard a lot about it. My uncle Frank was in Vietnam. My uncle Bill was in Vietnam. Frankie was in the Marines, and Bill, he was in the Navy. So, we heard, a lot of things, and fortunately they both survived the war. My Uncle Frank, he passed away later on in life in 94 from, he had, what do they call that? He stopped breathing at night. So he just died in his sleep. Sleep apnea. Yeah. Fortunately, my Uncle Bill, who is my cousin's dad, is still alive. So you have sleep apnea.
Yeah, and you, yeah, I do. And I have a machine, and I sleep like a brick with it, you know. And but I, you know, I went to the I went to the doctor today, and you know, I ain't no spring chicken, but I I do. Well, I still like living,
Yeah, absolutely.
and we we like to go places and do things, and like to go out for dinner. We like to take trips, but I don't really. I don't fly anymore, and for me to fly on a regular fixed wing aircraft, you know, uh, no, it's too much of a hassle because then I got to get a special thing. So for my little my my oxygen machine, and I got this, I got that. You know, put it in the put it in the back of the Lincoln, and I'll drive. What the hell, you know? So
Right.
anyway, well, I suppose I should let you go. I have
Yeah.
this.
You know,
And
you definitely had a very special and honorable story, and we definitely appreciate having you on here. It's really big. It's a big deal for us, and I'm glad you came on here.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
And I will put together those training things, and I'll put together on a stinger, or I'll put them on something for you, and I'll get them to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, it's what am I going to do with them?
Right.
But you could kind of probably show some pictures, and talk to another first responder. You know, in Montana, this is what they do.
Right.
They probably enjoy that.
Yeah. I imagine they probably would. It's a whole different world over there. Trust me. Yeah. I remember I lived there for 20 years. So,
Yeah, it is. Okay.
but yeah, we definitely appreciate having you on here. And just want to let everybody know that this is a very honorable man. And his name is Mick. And we definitely love Mick. He's a good guy. And he fought his battles. He came out on the other end. And we definitely love and appreciate his sacrifice. Thank you, Mick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye,
We'll
Rick.
talk to you later.
Yeah. Okay.
You have a good night or
Yeah,
a good
you too.
afternoon, actually.
You have a good night.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.